So I want you to start, before we get into all that you're up to these days, I want you to start by taking us back a little bit through your journey and how real estate fell into your path in the first place.
Yeah. So going back, well, I'll jump to the very, very end. When I was 37 years old, I quit my job because I had enough rental properties where I literally didn't need to work anymore. I had 30 plus properties. I was like, oh my goodness, even though I'm making $75,000 a year at this sit down, 9-to-5 job, I'm like, I am losing money. I need to quit so I can actually make good money that I like what I'm getting paid for my value. So that's the end. Now, going back to the beginning, I've always been entrepreneurial, and I've always thought that the goal would be to be independent. That was my entire goal growing up. But at the same time, we are all taught, I was definitely taught this, and everybody else, if you've gone to school, this is what we were taught. You go to school, you get good grades. You get good grades, you go to college, get in thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, and then you get a piece of paper that's called a degree. Then you take it to a job, and you try to get a job, and then you work that job for 40 plus years and eventually retire on what you've saved up on. And I thought, okay, well, that's the only way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I was going down that process of basically having a career. At the same time, starting a couple businesses along the way. So when I was young, when I was 13 years old, very first business, quote unquote business I had, I was a newspaper delivery boy. So basically I had my bicycle with newspapers in there, throwing the newspaper at 5 a.m., banging the garage doors.
A relic. Those they're extinct now.
They're like, what's a newspaper? Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
And so from there, I had a graphic website design company. I even had a skateboard manufacturing business, had a convenience store, started a convenience store from scratch, a pizzeria from scratch, started all these businesses. But I started realizing after reading a fantastic book, most people have already read it, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where I learned there's something different. There's a different way, a different path that you can go down, not this retire when you're 65, 70 years old and not going down the route of working 1 hour and getting paid for that 1 hour. I learned that there's something called passive income. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And all these businesses that I've created, I have basically created another job for myself, because if I didn't get that new skateboard to sell, or a new website to create, or a new customer coming in the door, I wouldn't get paid. They're basically trading one boss, one big boss that takes care of all my money, to many little bosses. So fast forward, what I decided to do was, you know what? I want to create businesses, but I also know if you buy one real estate rental property, that can make money for you without even working, among all the other benefits, holding on to appreciation, all that great stuff. And then I realized, oh my goodness, if I buy one rental property that makes me $250 or more every single month, that's $3,000 a year. If a boss came to you and says, hey, Dustin, would you want to have $3,000 extra a year in your paycheck? I'd be like, heck yes, of course I would.
Yep.
Well, I was like, man, if I do this one time, that's going to make me $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year without working. Then all I need to do is scale it up and started really realizing, if I wanted to do passive income, if I wanted to get rid of the rat race, if I wanted to quit when I, younger than 65, 70, all I had to do was multiply that out. So if I bought one property at $250 a month, that's $3,000 a year. 10 properties would be $2,500 a month without working, $30,000 a year in passive income. 20 properties would be $5,000 a month in passive income. Remember, not working at all, $60,000 a year in passive income. And all I need to do was continue to scale the business to whatever type of income that I wanted. And so here's a great thing. Even though people might think, well, you have, how many properties you have, that's a lot of work. I'm like, no, it's not. Here's the reason why. I build the business first. And so what I decided to do, because remember, I've always been entrepreneurial. I'm more of a businessman. When I approached investing, I thought this can be businessized. That's not, I'm just kind of coining that word, but like systematized. I can make it into a business. And so what I did was I hired the right people. So now let me quickly go through in 2 seconds. You'll understand how I literally don't work. I don't do anything. The reason why is, number one, I don't pay my taxes. I don't pay my insurance. I don't pay my property manager. I don't pay for my mortgage. I don't pay any of that stuff. In fact, I don't have to get a job to pay that. My tenants pay for every bit of that. And so what's great is if I account for my expenses before I buy the property, even one like a property manager, because I get a lot of people say, well, how do you afford a property manager? I'm like, because I account for that expense before I buy the property. Then when I buy the property, I know my expenses are basically fixed. Mortgage is basically fixed, taxes, insurance, all that sort of stuff is basically fixed. as long as I could rent it for $250 more in passive income, I realized, my goodness, even though I'm working this job, I can literally grow my business out of this job, or myself out of this job, by having this business. So fast forward now, after I've already built the business, making sure that it makes money without me doing any work. In fact, people have probably heard of the book, 4-Hour Work Week. Well, my personal belief is working 4 hours a week is for suckers. I don't want to work 4 hours a week. I don't want to work 4 hours a month. I basically maybe work 30 minutes a month. And just by getting the property management statements and hey, everything looks good, and then putting it aside and go right back to play with my kids. And so fast forward to now, I built up a business to where I literally don't do a thing. If I get a text from my property manager once every other month, that's about the most I ever get. Everything else, I don't even think about it because they run it all. But at the same time, I still make that money in passive income. So as I was working that job, sacrificed, bought the next property, sacrificed, bought the next property. After probably 7 years of buying property after property, eventually I had 30 plus properties. I'm like, shoot, this is for suckers. I'm leaving. And so there's a quick story that I've already shared in the previous episode where I actually get laid off. I'll give up the punchline. I got laid off. That's what got me into, after my wife had our fourth child, the week after we got our fourth child, I got laid off, and this was working for the county government. So that's what pushed me into it. So it's a fun story. So you should definitely go back and listen to that one. But all that to say, that's what got me into where I am today. Now with Master Passive Income coaching and sharing with people how to do this.